Which one are you going to take? Well, it's been an entire year since I took that first Adderall pill, and it's been quite the journey, I can tell you that. There's definitely been some ups and downs, and I've learned a whole bunch of stuff about ADHD, about Adderall and other medications, about my body, and I definitely know some do's and don'ts now. First of all, I consider the treatment a resounding success. I mean, it's really transformed my life. When I think about how I was before I started any kind of treatment at all, that includes Adderall and therapy, by the way. Nowadays, I'm less flustered, I'm less erratic, I'm more confident. I just feel more in control of my life now, which is amazing. So I want to talk about what life was like before the treatment first, because I feel that's kind of important. So before I started the treatment, I was doing okay. I had got through school and college, I had gone to university and got a degree, I had started my own freelancing company, and I was also working as an assistant manager in another job as well. So I was doing all right, or so I thought. When I really start to think about all of those achievements, while I am really proud of myself for doing all that, it's easy to forget the struggle that came with all that. Take school, for instance. My attendance for school was atrocious. And when I was in school, I couldn't concentrate at all, and I was constantly being reprimanded or sent out of classes for distracting other students all of the time. The truth is, I barely scraped through school. I had just enough grades to just make it to college. So at college it was a little bit different because I was allowed to take courses that I was actually passionate about. The problem is that ADHD doesn't really care about what you're passionate about. Because I cared so much about these classes, when I was in class, sometimes that hyper-focus would just kick in, and then I would be like, boom, best student in the class, absolutely soaking up every single ounce of information that comes out of the class, and I did really well. And then other days, I was completely non-existent. Like, I just couldn't even focus on what was going on. I just didn't participate. I just kind of was totally out of it. And the worst part was talking to my teachers, they said the same thing over and over again. You know, you've got so much potential, Chris, you could do so well. You just need to listen. You just need to try harder. And no, it's not that easy, and it sucks. And all of you, I bet, can relate to that. It really sucks because you know how much potential you have, but you just can't do it all the time. And at that point, I was undiagnosed, so neither myself nor my teachers had any inkling that it was ADHD, and I just thought that that's who I was, and they just thought that I was lazy. And that is a common misconception with ADHD. Luckily, one of the really awesome things about ADHD is I was able to hyper-focus a couple of days before my exams, and I did pretty well. I mean, I got enough grades to get into the university that I really wanted to go to, so I was stoked. And after that, all I could think was, now we're going to university, this is all going to change, I'm going to be a different person when I get there, I'm going to change myself and be more focused. Now, university was no different either. I would have an entire month where I would go to every single class and absolutely nail it and do my assignments really well, and my teachers were really impressed. And then a month later, I would just be completely off the grid. I had this constant mantra running through my head, and it went like this: Chris, don't worry about it, it's fine. You have so much time to do everything. You always do so much better under pressure. You can cram a deadline last minute, you can pass your exams last minute. You got this, man, you can do this. You thrive under pressure. And honestly, like, I believed that this was real, and I was like going to classes last minute. I was not even turning up for some. I was doing my essays right before the deadline. And then that all culminated when I had to do a 10,000 piece dissertation in 2 nights. Yeah, 2 nights. I literally remember sprinting across the campus like 15 minutes before the cutoff deadline and sliding it through that slot and just being like, yes! Now, with work I did pretty well. I was always promoted pretty soon in every job that I was in, and that's really part and parcel because of hyperfocus. So when I first got into a job, you'd be so into it that I would just be blasting through tasks and doing everything as well and as quickly as I could, taking charge of everything, and that helped me to get noticed pretty quickly. The problem is then the ADHD would creep in, and I would kind of either get super bored of the job really quickly and want to move on, or organization is not a strength of somebody with ADHD, so I would just be all over the place forgetting stuff. But luckily at that point I had people working underneath me that would help me out with that, so I actually did okay. Now all of this stuff, it seemed to me like that was just normal, like that's just who I am, that's just how I take stuff in the world and how I process stuff and how I deal with everything, and that just seemed fine because that's who I was. Looking back now, it is a stark difference to what I was like back then. Now I'm not saying like it's a complete fix or even that you need to fix yourself really, but it's worlds apart from where I was. And it's not just the Adderall that did that. If I hadn't have gone to see the counselor and done all of the therapy sessions with them, then I never would have been able to take like a step back from my life, look in and realize that all this stuff that I was doing is not normal. And all of this stuff is like big traits of ADHD that I never really knew about until I went and spoke to somebody about it. Another thing that really helped out was seeing the psychiatrist so I could figure out the right dosage. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I went too high at one point and it was too much for me. I turned into a complete zombie. But without talking to my psychiatrist, I never would have realized that, and I would have carried on going the way I was going instead of walking it back and finding the exact amount that works perfect for me. Another really, really important thing that I want to stress is that Adderall does not work properly unless you are doing these things: looking after yourself, dieting properly and eating the right foods, exercising regularly, and more importantly, getting good sleep. Because when you're not doing these certain things, it can throw off the medication and it really can have bad effects on you. And you think that the medication might not be working when it's not, you're just not looking after yourself. So look after yourself. So now, we're a year on in my medication and I am much clearer in my mind right now. I can take a back step and look from another perspective in my life and not just coast through life thinking that I'm doing fine when I'm clearly not. My mind is a lot better than it used to be. I mean, it's still not great, but I think it's a lot better than it used to be. And I still forget things, but I have people around me now who know that I have ADHD and they know to help me with these things. And I also have certain things that I've spoke about in previous videos on how to improve your memory and all that. I use these techniques every day to try and help me along with that, and it's definitely improved. My brain isn't working overtime so fast anymore that I can't even get the words out that I'm trying to think of anymore, which is really great because I used to just spew words out and not even think about what I'm saying. Look, it doesn't fix everything, and I never thought it was going to, but it helps a lot. The whole treatment for ADHD helps a lot. People think that it's just going to be a magical fix for everything and that they're just going to be a completely different person. And while in the beginning, when you first start taking it, it can feel like that. You can feel like, wow, everything's changing and this is going to be amazing. And eventually little parts of your ADHD are going to creep back in. And that's okay though, because the treatment's doing what it needs to do so that you can realize that you're actually starting to see these parts of ADHD creeping in again. So what the medication is doing, it's allowing you to see that. And that's a big step for you, or it should be a big step for you. It definitely was for me. But like I said before, the medication itself should only be the beginning for you. You should be taking steps to improve your life after that. You need to make sure that you're eating well and that you're getting enough sleep and that you're just looking after yourself. And talking to people in your life is a really big thing too. Once people know that you have ADHD and once people know that you're actively taking treatment, they're gonna want to help you out. They're gonna want to understand and be a part of that, and that's really great. Or at least I found that, and it really helps me out. And I'm not a medical professional. I'm just somebody who started Adderall a year ago, and then I decided to show all of you guys from the first day I took it to the first week, the first 6 months, and then the first year. I just wanted to share my journey with you so you could see how it has helped and how it has grown me as a person. But anyway, that is all I have for you on this last Adderall video. I hope you guys liked it. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and click that bell icon to stay up to date with all of my other content. Like the video if you did, and I'll see you guys in the next one.